If you're not careful, you live in a constant state of anxiety, on the edge, worried about stuff. My biggest regret at 55 is all the things I worried about between 25 and 55. 85% of them never happen. But it doesn't matter that it doesn't happen if it steals your joy, if it robs you of your peace, if it stops you from celebrating the moments that God has given you. Because some people can't enjoy where they are for worrying about where they're going. It might be dark for you right now, but it's not over. You might be going through a season of the absence of a thing that you legitimately need, but it ain't over. You may have to function for a while without the absence of the thing you adore, but it's not over. You might have to go without what your neighbors have, but it's not over. For somebody struggling just to keep your head above water, you're smiling just to keep from crying. You're doing the best you can, but you put 1 foot forward and 2 steps are made back. You're trying, but things don't seem to be quite working out the way you planned. You thought you'd be in a different place at this season in your life. You're doing everything right, but you're still suffering. You see, to be anxious is to have anxiety over a threat that has not been executed. Just worried about stuff that hadn't happened. I'm under threat, and life is a threat. Full of threats.
Life is a fight for territory. And once you start fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over.
To really be able to persevere in times of trial and fiery difficulty.
I'm telling you right now, if you are going to birth your dream, your passion, and the second half of your life, you can't draw back when life gets tough. You've got to stand up to it and push. We have 1,000 reasons every day to have anxiety. The psychologist says that anxiety is like a pilot flying a plane, looking at all of the various gauges before him and not understanding that the gauges are incorrect. It makes you think that you're flying lower than you are, that you're closer to destruction than you are, and you're reacting to the gauges as if you were about to crash, never realizing that anxiety breaks your gauges and you cannot trust your own senses. You can't trust your gauges, but you will get there. You may go through some stuff, but you will get there. You may be betrayed, but you will get there. You may even be delayed, but you will get there.
Life is difficult, and a resilient person is capable of standing up to things in the face of fear and moving forward voluntarily, convinced of their own competence and ability to prevail.
But not enough people are willing to build that mental, emotional toughness. And the moment they do, they'll persevere.
You face yourself, you realize you want to be better, you realize you don't want to be this weak, insecure person in the world who has all these problems that we all have. We all have. Spend time with yourself. Trust me. And once you find that passion and that purpose, your goals, your purpose, everything will just start lining up. And then you'll find the courage to start that journey from that 20 to 100.
Zig said most people in a fearful situation, they forget everything and run. But there are a small number, the road to life is straight and narrow, a few there be that find it, who face everything and rise. He said if the dream is big enough, the odds don't matter. And so when you say dream big, that's major. One, there's power in pursuit, because as Jim Rohn said, it's not the accomplishment of the goal that matters. It's what you become in pursuit of the dream in the process. Because when you have a big dream, it will introduce you to a part of yourself that you don't know right now, that you will never discover in your comfort zone. Because in order to achieve that dream, you've got to die to who you are now. I must die daily. You must die to who you are now to give birth to who you are to become. I believe that all of us have stories of greatness.
When trials and difficulties come, when your health starts to fail, when your children break your heart, when persecution comes just because you're trying to do the right thing, when difficulties, tough times, hard days, long nights, it is then that your faith kicks in to let you know that he's a very present help.
Everything starts out good. And as long as it stays good, you don't know what you got. You don't know what you can do. You don't know what you can stand. You can't rely on a fair weather relationship. You don't even know who you married to until all hell breaks loose. When the lightning is flashing and the thunder is raging and we're downsizing and we got to move into what looks like a closet, you don't know what you got until the storm breaks loose. It is the storm that defines character. It is how we react to the crisis that proves the depth of our relationship. If you just keep up your defense, you may rock a little bit. You may shake a little bit. You may have to buckle up. But you will get through this. But if you forsake the posture of protection and panic up under the threat of assault, then the enemy gets territory that he would never have because you relinquished your position.
There's something that you could do, that you could think in your life that would radically change your life. Somebody could take the hand you've been dealt and win with it. Same circumstances, same ideas. They would do it through what they thought about your life. But we don't need somebody, because we got you.
Discipline requires that you hold your position even when you're under fire. You can't speak peace outwardly if you have turmoil inwardly. If as long as you got peace on the inside, hell can be breaking loose on the outside. And you can speak out what you hold in. The worst storm in the world is not the one on the outside, but when it gets on the inside, you cannot speak what you do not have. A ship never goes down because the water is around it. It doesn't matter how much water is around it. It was designed to sail on top of the water. And as long as the storm is on the outside, the ship can sail through anything.
Don't look at it and say, why me? Look at it and say, why not you? And just get up and put one foot in front of the other and use your situation to add value to the world. The quicker you shift your perspective to add value to the world, the quicker you'll get your situation and your circumstance.
Learn how to handle the winters. Just the winters of the calendar in the last 12 years, how many winters? About 12. But it's not just the winters of the calendar, it's not just the winters of the season. There's all kinds of winters. The winter when you have all kinds of hecklers on a telephone call. The winter when you can't figure it out. The winter when it all goes wrong. Right? The winter when you get that first half dozen refunds. The winters of your life. Social winters. Political winters that we're going through around the world. The economic winters that a lot of people are experiencing these days. Personal winters when your heart is smashed in 1,000 pieces and the nights are unusually long. It is simply called winter time. But here's what you've got to do in your own personal development, your own personal growth, and that is just get better at handling the winters. You can't change the winter. You can't change the seasons, but you can change yourself.
Never say, I don't know what it is that I got. What's most important, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Commit yourself to do that which is in your heart. You were not born to work for a living, but to live your making. And living your making will make your living. We get paid to work on a job. That's what we get paid for. But your calling is something you're made for. What is it that you would do free? Something that you love it so much, you do it for free, and you do it so well that people will pay you to do it. That's your dream. That's your superpower.
You can get wiser and stronger and better. Wiser, stronger, better. Go home smarter than you came. Go home with more ideas than you came with. Next, get stronger. You can develop the muscle. You can develop the courage muscle. You can develop the inspiration muscle. You can develop the dedication muscle. You can get stronger. There isn't anybody here that can't get stronger. Next time we see you, may not even recognize you. How strong you're going to be able to become in language, in style, in personality, the ability to cope, the ability to handle with anything that happens, no matter what happens. And the third one is get better. We can all get better. I've gotten better. First talk I gave, I stood up, my mind sat back down. But here's the secret to my success. I stood up and did it again. Stood up and I did it again. And I did it again, and I did it again all those many years ago. I did it when I was scared, and I did it when I didn't want to, and I did it when I was ill. And I did it when it didn't work well, and I did it when they didn't appreciate it. I just did it anyway. And now all these years later, I got better. I got better day by day and week by week and month by month. And I'm asking you to do the same thing until you can develop a long arm and a long reach. Until you can develop influence that won't quit. Touch people next year you couldn't touch this year. Touch people now you couldn't touch before. Conduct a meeting now you couldn't conduct before. Heart and soul now mixed in there that wasn't there, missing before. I'm asking all of you to get better in spite of the winters, in spite of the downturn. The money downturn, the social downturn, the personal downturn, whatever it is. Just get stronger. Get better. We've all got those personal winters. We know what those are like. Barbara Streisand sings, it used to be so natural to talk about forever, but used to be's don't count anymore. They just lay on the floor till we sweep them away. You don't sing me love songs. You don't say you need me. And you don't bring me flowers anymore. A winter song. But hey, we're acquainted with all those personal winters, all the rest of it. The key is not to wish for a better winter. The key is to wish for more strength, more wisdom, more courage, get better, get wiser, get stronger.
And do that. Because if it's something that resonates with you, it's something that's in your heart, where your heart is, there your treasure is also. Remember A.L. Williams said, all you can do is all you can do. And all you can do is enough. But make sure you do all you can do. We always go all in on something that we love. What's in your heart? Because where your heart is, there your treasure is also. In my book, I say, live a heart-centered life.
So as long as peace guards your heart and your mind, your life can go through anything. As long as you don't get so caught up in your swing, in your business, in your dream, in your hope, in your potentials, that you drop your guard. Stand right still. Steady yourself. Take control of the situation. No matter what you read, or what you heard, or what they say, or what they do. Don't drop your guard. You can make it through anything as long as you don't drop your guard.
Your scripture, here's what he said. I fought a good fight.
See, that's extraordinary to be able to say. I fought for my kids, and I fought for what was right, and I fought for my good health, and I fought to protect my company, and I fought for a good career that would bless my family. I fought a good fight. It's good to fight. The encroachment. Opposites are in conflict, and we're in the middle. And if you want something valuable, you got to fight for it. Then this writer also said, not only have I fought a good fight, and I'll finish with this, and I got a much longer list, but maybe I can cover these at another time. He said, I fought a good fight, and I kept the faith. See, that's the deal. Keep faith with your family. Fight like crazy and keep faith. Fight the enemy and keep faith. Fight illness and keep faith.
I sometimes think that the bigger regrets in life are all those things that, like, I know I should have done. Those moments that I should have stepped out of faith, those moments that I should have been courageous, those moments that I should have walked in confidence, those moments that I should have stepped out, but instead I shrinked back in fear. Because it's not just the bad things that I've done, but rather it's the good things that I haven't done. See, every one of us in here, we will fall short and do something wrong. But the question is, which ones of us in here will actually stand firm and do something right?
That you're not afraid to recreate yourself, that you're not afraid to be adventurous, that you're not afraid to be back at 1 again, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is 1 again on the next level. 21 is 1 again on the next level. 51 is 1 again on the next level. And some people don't grow because they're not willing to give up the 10 to be 1 again.
The depth of your past is an indication of the height of your future. When construction workers are going to build a big skyscraper, they first have to dig down deep and lay a foundation. The taller the building, the deeper the foundation. You may have gone through or be in an unfair situation. A friend betrayed you, lost a loved one. It'd be easy to settle there and get discouraged. You may be low right now, but God's getting you in position to rise higher. There are new levels in front of you, new levels of joy, new levels of influence, new relationships, new opportunities right in your future.
And if you're not willing to give up the 10, you'll stay where you are for the prestige of having reached 10 and not willing to go back to 1 again. You failed to grow to what your capacity was meant to be because you don't want to be a sophomore once you've been a senior. You don't want to say, I don't know again. You don't want to do anything that's out of your comfort zone again. You don't want to go into the unfamiliar again, and you stop growing because you stop going. In order to keep growing, you have to keep going. And you cannot love the prestige of 10 to the degree that you failed to come to 11. 11 puts you in a room with 20s. And some people can't stand to be in a room with 20s once they have reached 10. They'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than to swim into a bigger stream and be surrounded by whales and sharks and all that kind of stuff. They like image more than reality.
You're going to need to step out in faith. You're going to need to put your foot in the water. You're going to have to maybe say goodbye to some stuff. Some of you have no idea what God would do for you, and the only way you're ever going to know is to step out and find out. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, I mean, let's just say that you hate your job. I mean, all you do is complain about it. You don't like it. You don't like the people. You don't like the work. And you've really got something else in your heart that you'd love to do. But you live in fear that if you give that up, you might not have anything. Yeah, see, walking by faith, living by faith, the just shall live by faith. That means everything is a step of faith. And sometimes it's comfortable and you've got all the details in place, but very rarely. Most of the time, if you're going to live by faith, if you want to really find out what God can do for you, you are going to have to, so to speak, take a chance.
And sometimes you're barely making any progress. Sometimes you're barely making any progress at all. And that tough situation is making you want to stop. And what you eventually learn is you can't stop. When you're going through tough situations, you got to take that next step. You got to keep moving forward. We're going through a pretty tough situation right now in a lot of different ways. Take that next step. Keep moving forward.
Because we get so distracted with stuff that we're never going to be remembered for. Stuff that we're never going to actually be celebrated for. The truth is that we want to come to the end of our life and we want to be able to declare no regrets. Yet what psychologists would tell us and what they would show us is that regret is probably the most common negative emotion that people experience. The moment you can say, if only, is the moment you step into regret. You ever found yourself doing this? If only I'd gotten that job. If only I hadn't gotten hurt. If only I'd gone to that school. If only I would have gotten that job. If only I would have married her. If only I wouldn't have married him. And we spend so much time trying to rewrite history that we never actually focus on the cards that we are dealt. So often it can be so counterproductive. Life is going to always have moments that there's opportunities for regret. And the feeling of regret is not the worst part. It's really what's the next thing you think about after you experience regret. Because regret will come. The question is, what do you do after that moment of regret? Because it really only becomes toxic when regret becomes habitual. See, I think what makes you and I different as human beings is that we have the ability to respond. You would call that responsibility. That you and I can choose and we can determine and define our reaction. That yes, we will make mistakes, and yes, challenges will come, and yes, there will be these moments that we want to rewrite history. But I'm telling you tonight that if you'll choose your response, if you'll decide now that I'm going to react the right way, you can actually learn and grow from your moments and your mistakes.
I trust God. I lean on God. I trust God for wisdom. I trust God to show me what to do when I don't know what to do. I trust God for my deliverance. I trust God for my peace. I trust God for my healing more than I do the doctor. I trust God for my rest. I trust God to show me how to live life every day. I trust God that I'm not going to go crazy. I trust God that I won't be sick and end up dying before my time. I trust God that he'll protect me when I'm flying over the oceans of the world. I trust God. I lean on him because no man, no person, no system, no thing, no amount of money, none of that will be able to do you like God will. And I put my trust in him.
Begin today that you were born to do something great with your life, that you're extraordinary. Listen to me, that you're enough, that you're special, that you're favored, regardless of where you come from. But every day, some of us are killing ourselves with the shame we carry from something we've done, some humiliation, some fear. Every day that tells us we're not enough, we're not strong enough, pretty enough, smart enough, favored enough, that we're doomed. And we carry these guns in our head every day that shame us, that take our confidence from us, that steal our joy. You can put those things down in your life. You could decide today that you were born to do something great. You could decide today, just intentionally, to set this weapon down, whatever it is, something you're just not proud of that you've done. Set it down. Stop using it as a weapon against yourself and realize that happened for you and not to you.
Life is a menu. Whoever and whatever you order for your life is what's going to be delivered to the table. Who do I want and what do I want for my day? Most of us could find ourselves doing things because we have a guilty conscience. I've learned to compartmentalize. I've learned to take control of my minute, my hour, my day, my week, my month, and my year. How can you have control? You have control. If you already know what he's going to do to your day from that text message or that phone call, why don't you block him? Why are you giving this person emotional access to you? Why are you continuing to call him or her back? Do you have validation issues where you need the validation of all of these people around you? You gotta be busy, you gotta be in the mix. It makes you feel accepted. Because you're the loudest person in the club doesn't mean that you're really having fun. Because you're pulling up in the nicest car doesn't mean you actually have gas money.
Here's what's important. Debate all major issues. Some issues are, sort of obvious. Say, well, I can see the positive side of that right away. But some need discussion. Now, here's what's valuable, to discuss some things with someone else. Debate back and forth. So here's what's important, is to debate the major life issues. In good health today, the great debate is on, which has given us advances we've never had before. So here's what you must be, though, in the debate: a good student, open to learning, defending and learning. It's important not just to defend and learn. Defend your point of view until it's sort of obvious that you've got to give some ground here because you haven't done your research. But this debating is important. We have to debate the health issues. One health book says, do this, you'll live forever. The second health book says, if you do that, you'll die young. So here's what we should do. Make the note. Be a student, not a follower. Every day in 1,000 different ways, we are trying to improve ourselves by learning how to do things. We spend a lifetime gathering knowledge in classrooms, in textbooks, in experiences. Now, if knowledge is power, if knowledge is the forerunner to success, then why do we fall short of our objectives? Why, in spite of all our knowledge and in spite of our collective experiences, do we find ourselves aimlessly wandering, settling for a life of existence rather than a life of substance? While there may be many answers to this question, the fundamental answer is the absence of discipline. Applying all that we know. That's the key word, discipline, self-discipline. We might add one more word here, consistent. Consistent self-discipline. Better than knowledge is applied knowledge. And once we've applied our knowledge, we must study the results of that process. Apply our knowledge, study the results. Refine our approach. Finally, by trying and observing and refining and trying again, our knowledge will inevitably produce worthy results, admirable results. And with the joy and results of our efforts, we continue to apply, to learn, to observe, to fuel our ambition with the positive reinforcement of continued progress. Pretty soon, we'll find that we're swept into a spiral of achievement, a vertical rise to success.
Discipline is the root of all good qualities, but you have to absolutely apply it to things outside of just waking up early. It's everything. It's working out every day, making yourself stronger and faster and more flexible and healthier. Discipline is eating the right foods to fuel your system. It's about disciplining your emotions so you can make good decisions. It's about having the discipline to control your ego so your ego doesn't get out of hand and control you. It's about treating people the way you would want to be treated. And doing the tasks that you don't necessarily want to do, but that you know will help you or help your team. It's about facing your fears. It takes discipline to face your fears so you can conquer them. And that's what discipline is. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, to do what's right for yourself and for other people. It's so often the easy path that calls to us. to be weak for that moment, to break down for that moment, to give in to the desire and the short-term gratification. But the discipline will not allow that. The discipline calls for strength and fortitude and will. It won't accept weakness. It won't tolerate another breakdown. The discipline can seem like it's your worst enemy. But the reality is, discipline is your best friend. It will take care of you like nothing else can. And it'll put you on that path. The path to strength and health and intelligence and happiness. And most importantly, it'll put you on that path to freedom.
Simple part that most people don't understand is that every thought we think and every word we speak is creating our future. It's as though our thoughts go out into the universe and are accepted and brought back to us as experience. Now that is a very simple thing, but most people don't get it. They don't understand it. They've never heard it before and they think it's ridiculous. But if you can really accept the fact that every time you think a thought and every time you speak a word, you are literally painting your future, making your dinner, whatever you want to call it. You are creating, and you're creating your own life. And this is simple, but it's not easy to accept. But once you accept it, then you can start deliberately creating what you want in your life. And you begin to be aware of what you don't want in your life and how you are contributing to it. Now, I think this has been around forever, but for some reason in the last 20 years, the universe has wanted this to go out among all the people, or all the people that are ready for it. See, most of us just think, and we don't pay any attention to what we're thinking. We're just doing it. But that's something you need to train yourself to do, to begin to train yourself to be aware of what you're thinking. And one of the ways to do that is to periodically say to yourself, what am I thinking? Would I like this thought to create my life? Would I like to have the experience that this thought could bring to me? Now, it takes a while to do that, but even if we could begin on the smallest level to be aware of our thinking, we can start to make changes.
I love talking about discipline because I think so many people, that word has such a negative connotation around it, right? It just sounds bad. Discipline, like you're going to feel pain or someone's going to hurt you or you're in trouble for something. And I want to start having you think about it in a really positive way, because discipline equals freedom. 100%. It has been the theme throughout my entire life, is how if you have structured discipline in your life and you start doing the things that you don't want to do, especially if you do them first, you are absolutely going to free yourself of all of the different pain that comes with not getting your goals accomplished, that comes with not taking care of yourself, that comes with living with regret. So before, way back in my early 20s, and even through my mid 20s, when I would, I was trying to create habits around maybe eating right, or habits around working out. And let me tell you, habits around getting stuff done. I literally in my head told myself all the time, my mantra at the time was, I never finish anything. So what do you think I did? I finished nothing, because that's literally how I talk to myself. Well, I never finished anything. This is another thing I didn't finish. So I had to switch that mantra around, and it was also realizing how important discipline was and how much freedom came with it. And I spent a lot of time living in agony in my head, and I was tired all the time because I spent more of my time in my brain thinking about what I didn't do and arguing with myself all day long. Am I going to go to the gym? I don't want to go to the gym. You should go to the gym. Why aren't you going to the gym? You know you need to go to the gym. You're never going to get to your goals. It's like I was drained just because of the conversations I was having with myself. If I would have just gotten disciplined, committed to a time, or knew I was going, I could have focused on all of the other good things that were happening in my life and just knew this is what I'm doing. It's like just saying, okay, well, here's what I'm doing so I can forget about it until the moment that it comes, and I'm going to do it because I'm committing, truly committing to discipline, and how freeing that is. And when I started getting a great discipline habit around all of the things that I wanted to do, I started to notice how much more free I felt, how much less anxiety I felt, how when my head hit the pillow, I felt proud instead of another day just went by that I'm further away from my goals and I have regret and I'm feeling my life race by me, right? Those are all feelings that do not feel good, that discipline can free you from.
Do you plan your day much, or your time generally? Does this lead to higher productivity? Yes, I plan my day obsessively. My calendar is always absolutely full, and often weeks in advance. And I plan in the morning, especially when I'm on top of things. And I plan each hour, and I probably plan each minute. And yes, it leads to way higher productivity. You know, you decide what your goals are going to be. You place them in the calendar. Use the calendar as your friend, eh? Because what you want to do with the calendar is design a day that you want to have, or a day that would be good for you. And a day that would be good for you is one that you're, you know, when you end the day, you feel that you've moved yourself ahead towards your valued goals, and that you've kept chaos under control. And that enables you to sleep soundly and with a good conscience, and to know that the next day is going to be at least not worse than that day. Planning is unbelievably useful. And again, you know, I don't want to sound like a broken record with regards to the future authoring program, but it really is useful. You know, you need to figure out what it is that you're aiming at and why, and then you need to figure out how you're going to break that down over the months and the weeks and the days. But I would approach your calendar like it's your best friend. You think, okay, I'm going to design a week, man, that I really want to have. And that means you can schedule in leisure and all the things that you want to do, which you absolutely should do. And it's also quite fun to give yourself minimal time to do something complicated, because it's quite challenging to see if you can do far more than you thought in far less time. And so that's a fun game. And the other thing you can do is, like, if you're avoiding something, you could schedule in 5 minutes of it. Say, well, like if you're avoiding looking at some bills because you're afraid of them, you know, your first step might be to schedule in 5 minutes where you just look at the bill. You don't do anything else. And, you know, you might be able to entice yourself into doing that. So, but I would say learning to plan is unbelievably useful, to schedule your time, because that's your life, you know. But schedule the life you want. That means you have to schedule your responsibilities obviously, because responsibilities are those things that ruin your life if you don't fulfill them.
Everybody doesn't want what you want. The question is, are you prepared to get what it is that you want? Are you prepared to make the sacrifices? Do you understand what that really means?
That's why there's an Old Testament phrase that gives the best advice for human activity when it says, 6 days labor, 1 day rest.
And the way I get them to break their slump, not correcting their swing or getting them positive, it's getting them to acknowledge the small promise of showing up to batting practice early, hitting that extra bucket of balls, beginning to reward themselves for the extra promises they keep to themselves, puts them back in a state of self-confidence. All of a sudden, they're hitting the ball great again.
Each of us needs to be the source of our own inspiration. Life's too short, and there's too much we want to accomplish to constantly be running back to books, seminars, CD or downloads to reinforce to ourselves that we can accomplish what we set our minds and hearts to. If you're a lawyer reading this book, you've already accomplished a lot. College, law school, bar exam, job, you've already done a lot. Reflect on these past successes as you work toward new ones.
Or are you going to just be complacent? And this is the time for you to recognize the truth. This is the time for you to wake up and realize that there's something that you need to be doing. But you don't need to be doing excuses.
You don't need to be so complacent and lazy about what it is that you are constantly going through in your life and giving your life less than giving your life more. Why do you socialize yourself with excuses? Why do you socialize yourself with misery? Why do you socialize yourself with being complacent? What are you afraid of? Oh, I get it. You're afraid to fail. You're afraid to go back. No one said you had to go back. All you got to do is keep pushing forward. You may fall a few times. You may slip a few times.
Now, I'm sure we've taken that to mean don't work all 7 days. Take one off. Here's what it also means. Only take one off, or you're liable to lose the war. Enterprise is better than ease. If you rest too long, the jungle overtakes the village. Now here's the good news about the war between good and evil. Evil is no match for good, but good must be active. Weeds are no match for human activity, but if you stand still, how far in will they come? All the way. They'll grow right up around your shoes.
But that doesn't mean you quit. That doesn't mean you give up. That means you must find a way and you must make a way, and you got to continue to dig deeper than you've ever digged in your life. Enough is enough. Enough with the excuses. Enough with being complacent. Enough with giving up. This is the time to recognize your purpose. This is the time for you to recognize your truth and make the most of your life. And if you're not willing to do that, then nothing's going to happen for you. Nothing is going to give you that true opportunity to be the best of yourself. This is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. This is a reality check. Ask yourself, how far have you gone? How much have you given of yourself? Why do you wake up every morning with the same excuse? Why do you wake up every morning saying the same thing over and over again? Why do you feel you need that cup of coffee to start your day? Why do you feel you need to depend on your alarm clock to get up?
But if you get busy, how far back can you take them? As far as you wish. They're no match, but you must be active. That's why the 6 and 1. Make sure you're not losing the war by taking off too much. Guess what the average years are after retirement? 6. Which means don't retire. Your chances are too slim. Okay. The war between good and evil, the weeds. You got to make sure you recognize the negative, handle it, deal with it, and then go on. Let's make a list of the diseases of attitude that can wreck all your chances to do well. One of the words that destroys everything is called neglect.
If you've stumbled along the way, fall on your face, you've managed to get up and move forward. Win, lose, or draw, you're still at it. You're still getting up every one morning and facing the day. Life hasn't gotten this. Focus on what you've done. You've done it before you can do it. Again, even if you're facing different challenges, bigger challenges, you have the talent and passions and dreams. Find where they intersect and create a plan to leverage them.
And I believe the solution to self-doubt is to build something bigger than that doubt, which is to build our self-confidence. And one thing to know about the fact that you doubt yourself is, one, I struggle with it as well. One of the reasons I've had to go learn to build all these tools for myself is because in my life, my baseball career, my academic career, my business career, my speaking career, I've been riddled with self-doubt. That creeps up all the time in our lives. Am I enough? Am I good enough? Do I deserve this? Is this something that's part of my destiny? Should I be doing this? And if you're a religious person, I believe the adversary, if you believe in the adversary, I believe the adversary's greatest tool that he could use against you to get you to lose in your life is to get you discouraged and doubting.
I went into the workforce. My dad thought for sure that having me do essentially menial labor jobs would teach me that I didn't want to do that, but it also made me sort of numb to that kind of work. And so I worked in a paint factory, I worked in a door factory, I worked in a paint warehouse, a paint store. My dad happened to work for a paint company, hence the theme. And I was too lazy to go get a different job. And so I literally just always took whatever was before me. But I had this sense that I could do more, that I could be more, that there was something that I was meant to do. I didn't know what that was exactly. I had a love for filmmaking, to be sure, and I've had that love since I was a little kid. But I had no idea how that was going to play itself out. Now, the irony of my life is when I went to leave for college, I almost chickened out. In fact, I did chicken out. And the only reason that I ended up going to college was my mom forced me to.
Most of us have one or more favorite teams, collegiate and professional. Most of us have athletics we follow and cheer for. Some of us, even at my age, seek glory on the field or court. Maybe it's the immediacy of victory. You play and you win or lose. Maybe it's having fans watch and scream for you. For some of us, even though our athletic days are behind us, we try to have that dream live on through our children.
These are two of the most chaotic things that the adversary can do to us, or that we do to ourselves in our own minds, is to get ourselves doubting, to get ourselves discouraged, because you can't win when you doubt and you can't win when you're discouraged. What I found out, though, about self-doubt is that you don't overcome it, you build something bigger than it, which means you build your self-confidence, and the greater and greater your self-confidence get, it minimizes the impact self-doubt has on us. Now, why is that so important? It's important because you have to understand one thing about the doubts and the negative thoughts you have about yourself. As hard as this is to accept, these are not your thoughts. You weren't born doubting. You weren't born discouraged. You weren't born thinking negative things about yourself. Those were thoughts that were placed in you and given to you by an external source at some time in your life. It could even be our parents. Don't do that. Be quiet. Sit down. Be a good boy. Be a good girl. Maybe it was criticism you received as a little one.
And I was having this moment of crisis. There was only me and one other kid that was leaving the state from my high school. Everybody else went to a state school. Everybody stayed together. It was that familiarity and living essentially a small life. And it sounded really enticing at the prospect that I was about to move away. And so I said to my mom, you know what, look, let's just forget all this. Let's call it off. It's going to be really expensive. I'll just stay here. And my mom was like, over my dead body. And she pushed so hard to get me out. But then every day since then, my mom has tried to get me back. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, you're the reason I left. I never would have left if it wasn't for you. So I literally don't understand. And in that moment, my mom gave me the greatest gift anyone could have ever given me, because my mom supported me. She was my biggest cheerleader. But when I asked her why she pushed me so hard to leave for college, her answer, totally without malice, was, I always assumed you were going to fail.
He identified your dreams, identified your passions. They're interrelated but distinct. The dream is something you want to accomplish. It's bigger than life. It requires talent, hard work, dedication. It also requires passion. Passion is what gets you out of the bed earlier than most to prepare for a marathon. Write a book like this, go to night school for another degree, and any host of other tasks that require drive, grit, and heart